Hi everyone and welcome. You're here today with Andy Valkyrie Divine, and we're continuing our journey through the chakras. Today is actually our day one of the third eye chakra, and so we're steadily making way. We're almost all the way at the end. We're at the sixth chakra today, and we'll begin by discussing the third eye chakra. It's one of the most popular ones that people know about, and it's very, very rich in information. So again, I'm going to have to talk a mile a minute just so I can cover everything, because there's really, really lots to say. Now, if we're talking about just a few characteristics of this chakra, we're thinking about the eyes, right? Where we call it the third eye chakra, and the placement is right here, and it's literally between the other two eyes, and it refers to the mind's eye. And it's all about, seeing. So we're talking about vision. We're talking about light, because we cannot see if there's no light. So there's that interplay of light and dark. There's also the idea of color, right? When light hits matter, it actually transforms into the 7 colors, which are also coincidentally the 7 colors of the chakras. And so, the idea too with the colors is that as we move higher up, that's when we go through all of the colors and we reach light, which is white, and that's supposed to be the highest, most divine aspect of who we are, because we are beings of light. And it has to do a lot with dreams, with memories, because we're talking about the brain, right? This is the part where it's at, so we're referring a lot to the brain, with imagination, visualization. So we're visualizing, again, visual coming from the eyes, imagining things, because it has to do with our mind. It's our mind's eye. And it also has to do with clairvoyance and intuition, right? This is what the third eye is known for, that we just get that sort of inherent feeling that we see something, or we know about something, and we don't actually see it with our physical eyes per se, but rather with something that goes beyond the limits of our physical reality. And so that's what the third eye is all about. Now, again, we're thinking about the areas that are involved would be the forehead, the eyes, of course, because it has a lot to do with visual perception, the brain, because we're talking about the mind. I'm going to go into more detail about that in a minute. I get all excited when I talk about the brain. So, now the name in Sanskrit for this particular chakra, it's written as Ajna, A-J-N-A. Some people pronounce it Anya. If you don't want to pronounce the J as a J, but rather as an I, there's different ways to pronounce it. So whatever feels right to you, go ahead and pronounce it however you'd like. And the meaning of that is actually to know or to perceive. So it has a lot to do with perception, because that's how how we interpret our reality, is through the very perception of our own eyes and of our mind, right? Now, if we're talking about the elements related to this chakra, so we've seen the 4 physical elements in the lower 4 chakras. Then we moved up to the throat, and in the throat chakra we actually saw a bit of a more sophisticated element, and that was that of sound. And then now we move into even more sophisticated, and we're talking about light. So light is the element that allows us to see, right? And so literally this chakra is about our right to see. That is what we're fighting for. It's our right to see, to perceive. It's that visual perception, to see things. And it's also that center of not just visual, but also psychic and intuitive perception, because, like I said, we're talking about definitely our own eyes physically, but at the same time there's more to it than that. So it's also about our intuition and about our psychic abilities and what we can see with that. Now, if in the 5th chakra we were collecting information through sound, in the, through the means of words, now in the 6th chakra, what we're doing is we're collecting information through the means of light. So again, color, right? Because that's what it has to do, and images, right? Because as we perceive light in different colors, we also see different images because of that. So again, the information that we get as we reach the higher levels is a lot more sophisticated and in depth. There's a lot more sort of dimensions added, and it's not just sort of the physical aspect of things, but there's other layers that start adding up. So we're going from a very grounded physical manifestation where we start in our root chakra, and as we move up it becomes a lot more sort of big picture, added layers, complexity, right? So we're going from simple to complex, and that's why it's also, I think, harder sometimes to really be able to fully reach those higher levels, because they are so complex and it takes so much work to get through the other chakras to be able to really ascend the energy upwards, so to speak. Now, the third eye is kind of like I wrote here, the command center of information, right? And so this is where we do everything, whatever we end up doing with our brain, right? So we're receiving information, we're storing information, we're categorizing information, we're analyzing, interpreting, right? All of these functions are functions of our mind, and our mind is definitely related to the third eye. It's again, and when we're talking about our mind, I mean, there's a huge debate on whether or not our mind is actually part of our brain or not, or, people don't really know scientifically how the mind works or where it comes from, but collectively all of our neurons work together to create the mind, and so it's really, for the third eye, we're looking at our brain's capacity to visually interpret all of the information that is coming. So it's a lot of encoding the information that's coming visually to us, and this is also because we're talking about our mind. Our mind is built of our thoughts, right? We think, and it's really, before we do anything, so before taking action or anything like that, we need the input of the mind. Everything starts from a thought, and from that thought, of course, we go through a decision-making process, and there's a lot involved there until we decide to take action or not. But everything that was ever created began with a thought, and so thoughts manifest into things. And any physical thing, before it was a physical thing, was an idea. It was a thought. So that's really the building blocks of how we create, and how we do things, and how we interpret our world and manifest into our world. And that is where sort of the ideas that we get are born of the mind, and then they manifest themselves into our physical reality. So there's a lot of added layers there. I know it might sound a little bit out there, but that's really how it works. And we're talking about energy, right? And when we think about the higher levels of energy, that energy is lighter, right? Again, because we're ascending into the stream of light, and you need that first. And like I said, the more the energy becomes denser, it starts to manifest into a physical reality. But first, it starts with an idea or a thought, which is less dense energy, so to speak. And from there, it manifests into the material world, which is very, very dense in terms of energy. Now, if we're thinking of the third eye, so remember I was saying, yes, there's the physical element, there's the brain, but at the same time there's that added layer of clairvoyance, of perceiving, but not really perceiving with our physical eyes, but perceiving beyond that, right? And clairvoyance is kind of like seeing something beyond the limitations of space and time, right? So space and time are not limiting someone's vision of what is. So a person can see energy patterns, a person can you know, sort of have kind of like premonitions where they kind of see things ahead of time. Let's see, what else did I write here? So it's kind of like an intuitive perception of something or someone, right? So it could be an event or it could be like a person, and it's really that intuitive perception that a person gets, you know, ahead of time. So it's like the person who's clairvoyant or has this intuitive perception, it's like they're getting an instant download in their mind of information that is valid about a situation or a person. So, you know, it's kind of like an inner insight that happens. It's really, you know, it's a sight that comes from inside. That's kind of how I see it. And so that's where the idea of clairvoyance comes from. Now, one other thing I'd like to mention, and this is huge, is that the third eye also has to do with us recognizing our patterns. And in the world, when we go out and we function based on all the patterns that we know, that our consciousness is familiar with, right? And when we see, it's all about recognition of the things that we see. So for example, you know, let's say I've been filming videos for the last 20 days, right? And then every day I have flowers here in the back. And what ends up happening is, let's say today I will not have the flowers there, and you're going to see right away that something changed, right? The pattern that you've been seeing for the last 20 days has changed because you're recognizing the fact that the flowers are no longer there. And so we always look for changes in our environment, you know, to make sure that okay, we're recognizing the environment, but there might be something missing, or you know, oh, I see something else there that wasn't there before, or there was something there before and it's no longer there. So we're constantly, you know, just working whatever patterns we have in our consciousness, and we recognize certain things about that. And what happens here is that when we, sometimes even when a person tries to explain something to you, you know, and so for example, I might be explaining something to you through the video, and you're thinking and thinking and thinking until finally you make a connection. So there has to be something that I say that you recognize as a pattern in your own consciousness for it to make sense. And then what happens? Then you say, oh, I see. Right? So you're not really seeing, but you're seeing because you get it. And so, you know, this is why typically when we start to understand something, or we get that sort of like eureka moment, we're like, oh, I see, yeah, you know, and that's where it comes from. And, you know, it's not that we see with our eyes, but really that we understand, we cognitively get what is there, and we recognize that pattern. Now, let's see. Oh, yes, okay. Another thing about recognizing patterns is that sometimes recognizing patterns allows us to be able to predict things in the future. And so, for example, you know, if well, I don't know, but for example, if, you know, every time you drink you get sick, then, you know, next time you go out and you ask yourself, should I be drinking that much? You might be able to predict what's going to happen, you know, if you drink as much as you've been drinking in the past and every time you've gotten sick, or something like that. I mean, I don't know, maybe it's not the greatest example, but that's the one that I can come up with right now. So it's just the idea that sometimes based on patterns that we know really well, we can make predictions about consequences that can happen in the future about those. And so, you know, and this is again related to our brain and to our consciousness. Remember, there was a, I think it was in the root that I was talking about how the cortex in our brain, the cortical tissue in our brain, is really what distinguishes us from animals. And it is the part of the brain that is the most recently evolved. and humans, and that is what gives us our capacity to think. You know, our entire consciousness is based on our cortex, evolutionarily speaking. And so what happens is, because the third eye is in this area of our brain, or our cortex, this is called the prefrontal cortex, and it's really like the anterior part of your frontal lobe, and it's the part of the brain that is associated with what's called executive function. And executive function has to do a lot with sort of like decision-making processes, working towards a goal, anticipating consequences ahead of time. So again, sort of like with the recognizing the patterns, we're saying, oh, if this, you know, if I do behavior X, then consequence Y follows, or you know, those kinds of things, like anticipating consequences based on actions that have been previously done, and so on and so forth, are sort of they come from this part of the brain, the cortex, the prefrontal cortex, which is in the same exact area as where the third eye is located. So it comes to no surprise that, you know, they're interlinked, and this is where we say that, you know, this is where our consciousness comes from, and this is where we you know, where we can predict things. And in this situation, I think the coolest thing about this is that, you know, clairvoyance, when we add this extra layer of clairvoyance and intuition, it's that on top of the consciousness and the normal patterns that we live through our everyday lives, there's an added element of going beyond the patterns. And so having that perceptive, intuitive quality where you know, people say that, oh, like your third eye is open, you know, and that really means that you are able to see even beyond those patterns. And so you know, it's like you're taking a leap into even deeper realms of perception that normal people, you know, and I shouldn't say normal, but that we cannot really see with our physical eyes. Like, it goes beyond the physical realm into a different realm of reality altogether. Like I said, I know this sounds very out there because it's the third eye, but that's what it is. And it's my absolute favorite. It's my absolute favorite chakra for the very reason that it really goes beyond everything else, and this is where you really start to see, you know, how we are multi-dimensional beings, you know. And I know that because we live in a physical plane, we're most in touch with our physical 3D reality, but there are other realities out there, like the fourth dimension, which has to do with our thoughts, and you know, fifth and sixth, and there's other dimensions, and this is where in the higher chakras we really start to see that there is multi-dimensionality in our being, you know, and we can experience that at the level of our, like I said, at the physical level, and the perceptive level, at the, you know, the thought mind level, you know, and so on and so forth. So it's, again, I know maybe hard to swallow at first, but the more you delve into it deeper, the more you'll start to see the connections. I'm sure you'll recognize the patterns, and then you'll say, "Oh, I see." A couple other things before I let you go, guys. So it's also related to memory. So we're encoding everything that happens with us, everything that we see, everything that we perceive through all of our senses, not just visually. It's encoded into memories. So we're encoding it, we're storing it, and then we can also retrieve it back again. The other thing is that we have the ability to visualize, and it's really through this idea of visualization, of projecting our mind ahead in time, and being able to navigate the future by visualizing, oh, what would happen with this, or where do I want to go with that, or what do I want to do with this, or it's sort of like creating through images that you project into your, or onto your mind's eye, to really see beyond what is immediately right now. Dreams are another thing, and that has to do a lot with the third eye. And dreams are sort of like the same idea of recognizing patterns. However, they're not conscious patterns, they're subconscious patterns. And so dreams have all to do with really understanding and recognizing the subconscious patterns that are happening in the background, sort of like the inner symbolism of these patterns, but sorry, on a subconscious level. And let's see. I think that's it. The last thing I'd like to mention is again the idea of light and dark. So we have, you know, this interplay between darkness and light, and this is really where we start to see that light breaks down into different colors as it reaches or as it hits matter, right? If we're looking at like a beam of light hitting matter, it scatters into different colors, and that's how we perceive colors. And the idea of colors too has to do with again with the 7 chakras, that when you put them together, when they all function in unison, all 7 colors, this is where you go back to that beam of light. So yes, it is divided into different color patterns because we are matter, and as matter we will exhibit these properties of the different types of colors. But at the same time, when we combine these together and the light can filter through all of the 7, you know, the colors all combine to make white, which is the color of light, which is the ascended part of us, the divine essence that is us. And so anyway, just to perplex you even more, today is a perplexing day, I know, guys. So staying with that thought of really ascending into the light and how that works, I'll read you this paragraph in the book here. And so it says, Chakra 6 is where we can transcend the limitations imposed on us by physicality and enter new realms of imagination. We develop new ways of obtaining information, thus expanding our consciousness to even deeper and broader levels of understanding, such as the mythic realm, a world of rich symbolism. And so we're really thinking here, it's this idea of transcendence, right? We're going beyond the limitations that we typically know of space and time, which are the 2 limits that we really have on the 3D plane, on the physical plane. And we're absolutely going beyond that, or at least that's the goal of the 3rd chakra, to really go above and beyond and transcend those limitations into higher realms. So I'll leave you with that. And I'll show you a couple mandalas quickly. Again, like usual, I'll post them on my blog. And by the way, I wanted to let you guys know, today is the last day to sign up on my blog. If you sign up to receive my newsletter, today it's the last day where I'm going to give 2 free goodies. So I have an MP3 meditation, and I have a PDF booklet which consolidates basic information about everything we've learned so far. So it has to do with this series, with the Chakra Energies event. And it's just put all together into a PDF file that you can, you know, it's very easily accessible. All the information's there. So please sign up to my blog if you'd like to receive the 2 goodies. Like I said, today's the last day when I'm allowing people to still sign up and send the. I mean, I'm allowing people to sign up all the time, but today's the last day to sign up and receive the goodies until the next time I feel like I want to give them out. So just letting you know. And here's a couple of mandalas. I'll show you a purple one over here. And again, you'll see these. I'm going to post them on my blog so you can see them better. You can even save them or meditate with them. I'm wearing my purple scarf as well because I don't have anything purple other than a scarf. And here we go. I'll show you that. And one other thing I'd like to mention is that there's different opinions in terms of the color of this chakra. So some people think that this color would kind of be right, so it's like a dark indigo, like a blue, but like a darker purple blue. or actual like violet purple, very, very purple. And so again, it depends. Different people have different thoughts. Like sometimes the way that one school of thought goes is that the throat is blue, the third eye is purple, and then the crown is white. Whereas the other school of thought believes that the throat is light blue, the third eye is indigo, which is like a dark, dark kind of blue, and then the crown is purple. So again, it's up to you which one you feel that you, again, feel with your intuition, you know, which one do you tend to go more towards. I don't think there's any one of them that's right or wrong. It's really just a matter of how you identify with the colors and what they mean to you. I personally identify with purple a lot more than I identify with blue, so I tend to just be more on the side of you know, blue, purple, white. But again, you know, it's really up to you. It's a matter of personal feeling and interpretation. So here's another one, and this one's kind of nice because it has a little bit of blue too, so it'd be perfect for sort of doing the transition between the throat and going up to the third eye. And I'll have a couple other ones. I'm going to scan them and just post them on my blog so you can use them. And tomorrow I'll be addressing the imbalances that can happen with the third eye. Again, it's going to be a rich one, and I hope it's going to blow your mind as much as this session did. So I'll see you guys tomorrow. Take care. Bye.